Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on monthly policy review which is released by PRS Legislative Research. This is PRS for the month of October, which is released on the next month, that is October month of the PRS was released in November. So we'll understand the detailed important news that were relevant for the month of October, and even we'll try to figure it out how this is going to be relevant for both prelims and mains examination. So before I start, the brief about the PRS Legislative Research. It's an independent research institute which aim to strengthen the legislative process of India. It assists the Member of Parliament and Member of Legislative Assemblies. It is based in New Delhi. For more details, you can refer to their websites as well. If you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. Starting the session, the first news, that is FM radio policy guideline that are amended. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has notified certain amendments to the policy guideline on the expansion of the FM radio broadcasting services through the private agency, and this is the phase 3 which government has come up with. In this session, specifically in the PRS, mostly the policies and scheme of the government will be discussed. So the key amendment, a cap on the share in the total channels. Basically earlier the guideline provide that service provider cannot hold more than 50% of the total channel allocated in the country, and this cap has been removed. So this is a major changes. Even for the prelims point of view, you can have a note of this. Eligibility for running the FM channel. Earlier the bidding category was two important categories. Even the first was for the CCTs and the other were for the DCTs, right? The minimum net worth required for the cities was 1.5 crore and the net worth has been lowered to 1 crore rupees. So इस value को कम करके 1.5 से 1 crore कर दी गई. The category C and category D cities, those are with the populations of the range 3 to 10 lakh and 1 to 3 lakh respectively, will be considered for the FM channel. Now, restructuring of companies is an important and significant part. Under the guideline, prior approval from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting is needed for restructuring the FM radio's permissions between holding companies or subsidiaries in the same management. Now, the earlier restructuring was permitted only if done within 3 years of the date which all allocated to the channel become operational. So they have to do the restructuring within 3 months, and this limit has also been removed by the government. Now the other news, that is central bank digital currency, something relevant for the prelims and mains examination. The Reserve Bank of India has issued a concept note on the central bank digital currency. This is also known as CBDC. CBDC is a digital form of a legal tender that will be issued by the central bank. In India, the central bank is RBI. For many other countries, there are different central bank. Now, talking about other part, that it will provide an additional options to currently available in the form of money. And even talking about the bitcoins, the RBI has categorically denied the implementation of bitcoins and has suggested that there can be many loopholes in the bitcoin. So as of now, bitcoin is not the way out or green signal from the RBI, but definitely the central bank digital currency is the way out. Now, key features of the CBDC. According to the RBI, there are several advantages to issuance of the CBDC. First, it will call for reductions in the cost associated with the physical cash management. A lot of cost in terms of security, printings are involved. So this will be reduced and exchequer will save this amount. Providing public with alternative to the private virtual currencies associated without risk. Enhancing the resilience in the payment and provisions of the core payment service outside the commercial banking system. Boosting the innovations in the cross-border payment while making them instances, and even supporting the financial inclusions through transition that are offline. Now, CBDC can be characterized into two groups. The first group is general purpose or retail, right? And the other is the wholesale. So if you talk about the retail one, it can potentially used for all private sector, non-financial consumers, and for the business. If you look into the wholesale part, it is designated to be restricted by the financial institutions for improving the efficiency and interbank payment. So retail is for the consumer and wholesale is for the financial institutions. RBI consider an indirect model for facilitating access to CBDC better issued for India. Other than the model, the person would hold their CBDC in an account wallet with the bank or the service provider. and obligations to provide CBDC on the demand would fall immediately. Basically, central bank tracking as a wholesale CBDC balance or the intermediaries part. So, regulation in terms of regulation, RBI is the sole authority. Now, technological platforms की अगर बात करें, infrastructure for implementing the CBDC could be based on the conventional center control database or the distributed ledger. In conventional database, data is stored over multiple nodes, which is controlled by the central entity. And the distributed ledger system, the database is jointly managed by the multiple entities in the decentralized manner. कुछ फीचर्स की अगर बात करें सेंट्रल बैंक डिजिटल करेंसी को लेकर, इट कैन हैव बोथ इंटरेस्ट एज वेल एज नॉन इंटरेस्ट बियरिंग स्टूडेंट इंस्ट्रूमेंट. सो दोनों ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल होंगे. And the RBI have observed that since physical cash does not carry an interest, it would be logical to offer non-interest bearing for the CBDC. Now, the Reserve Bank of India has said that reasonable autonomy for the small value transactions, such as the associated with the physical cash, may be desirable options for the CBDC retail. RBI will launch the first pilot digital rupees for the wholesale, and with the separations of the 9th bank on the 1st November 2022. Right? So this was a timeline which was actually there. It's used for the secondary market transition in the government security as well. Now, the other news, credit guarantee scheme for the startup has been notified by the central government. The Department of Promotion of Industries and Trade have notified the credit insurance scheme for startup. If you're writing in mains paper specifically, make sure you highlight this important point, even relevant for the prelims as MCQ questions. The scheme will provide guarantee covers to loan extended to eligible startup by financial institutions such as bank, non-banking financial companies. Now, this is exempted to facilitate the collateral-free loans to the startup. Even the government of India has come up a lot more other measures that will ensure the finances to the startup. Government ने कई ऐसी और भी स्कीम स्टार्ट की ताकि स्टार्टअप्स को इंडिया में बूस्ट किया जा सके. And even post-COVID, government is trying to basically nurture this sector so that new unicorn can emerge from India itself. Now, what are the key features? First, it will call for the eligible borrowers. The borrowers under the scheme startup would meet certain conditions. First, it will be recognized by the DPIIT, and there is a stable revenue system which will be there, and not a default for any lending investment entity not to be classified as a non-performing assets. Guarantee cover की बात की गई है. Loan under the scheme may be provided for the transitional based guarantee cover and second for the umbrella based guarantee cover. Transition based guarantee cover की अगर बात करें, it will be obtained by the financial institutions on a single eligible borrower basis. Umbrella based guarantee covers will be provided to the ventures debt fund that is registered with the Security and Exchange Board of India. So this is an important point and difference that you can take a note. When it comes to basically security part, SEBI is the entity, right? तो SEBI के बारे में आपको ध्यान रखना है. And even SEBI के working procedures भी, if you know, it's very good because sometimes UPSC tend to ask the questions on the SEBI as well. A maximum guarantees of up to 10 crore per borrowers may be allowed under the framework. So these are some of the thin line difference that a question can be framed as a multiple choice question in the prelims examination. The oversight mechanism here, the scheme will be operated by the National Credit Guarantee Trust Company, and DPIT constitute the management committee at the risk evaluations. The management committee will oversee the affairs of the scheme. It will empower to review the performance of the scheme and revisit the parameters including the extent of guarantee and coverages. The risk evaluations committee will assess the overall parameters of the scheme, inducing the conflict of the interest. So खास करके जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट है इस चीज़ को लेकर उसे भी कम करने की जो मैकेनिज्म है वो भी रखी जाएगी. Now, PM Divine for developing in the northeastern region. The Union Cabinet has approved the Prime Minister initiative for development of the northeastern region. The scheme was announced in 2023 in the Union budget. What is the objective of the scheme? First, it called for funding the infrastructure project because the paucity of the infrastructure in the region call for huge development of the infrastructure and even call for a lot more investments of it. Supporting social development project based on the needs for the northeastern region, creating livelihood activities for the youth and women. For youth, it is very important that the employment generation should be the priority and even a better education should be the priority for the government. For women, it is again the livelihood options and job security. The PM Divine is a center scheme that will have an outlay for 6,600 crore for the period for 2023 and 2026. It will be implemented by the Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region through the Northeastern Council and the central ministries and agency. So this type of point, a short point relevant for the prelims examination. Regulations regarding the pricing of energy saving certificates. The Central Electricity Regulatory Commission has released a draft amendment to CERC and the conditions dealing in the regulations of 2016 for the public feedback. The regulation provide details regarding the trading transferable stable energy and saving certificates in the energy market. The ESCR tradable instrument, this is again an important point. It's a tradable instrument issued by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. The organization name is again important. This is issued by the BE, and notified industries have been overreaching their energy saving targets. These certificates can be sold to underachievers at the power exchange. The amendment add the full pricing for ESC that will be fixed at 10% of the price, 1 metric ton of the oil equivalent to the energy consumed. So this is how the things will be maintained in the metrics. The central government will notify this price for every performance achieve and trade. जिसे पैट साइकिल कहते हैं. UPSC has already asked a question on the PAT in 2016, I guess. Do check it out. इस तरह के सवाल कई बार बहुत ज़्यादा relevant होते हैं prelims के लिए. Under the PAT scheme, reductions in the specific energy saving target are assigned to designated consumer for 3-year cycle. The PAT scheme is a market-based compliance mechanism to reduce the energy consumption in the large energy industries. National repowering policies for the wind power projects. Basically, Ministry of Renewable Energy, New and Renewable Energy has released the draft national repowering policies of the wind power projects. The wind turbine repowering refers to replacing and upgrading the units, and new efficient and powerful turbine will be the components of it. The draft policy seeks to replace the repowering policies issued in 2016. So total installation capacity की अगर बात करें, the wind power has increased from 21 gigawatts in 2014 to 40 gigawatts in 2022. Further, the government aims to increase it to the large extent. Now, what is the aim? The draft policy aims to replace the old one, the aging inefficient turbine, and even it called for modern high efficient maximizing potential with the sector as per the draft policies. India is re-empowering the potential of such small capacity turbine, that is 25 gigawatts. Objective की अगर बात करें, first objective of this policy, that is to optimize utilizations of wind energy resources, right, by maximizing the energy output, that is measured in kilowatt per square kilometer project area, deployment of the latest onshore wind turbine technologies, and MNRE reserve as the right to amend review the policy periodically to ensure its effective implementations. Now, key features की अगर बात करें, first is repowering the old wind turbine, that is a wind turbine that is eligible for repowering, that will call for wind turbine related to the capacity of 2 megawatts, wind turbine that has completed its design life, set of wind turbine over an area that met certain conditions such more than 90% of the total capacity of the project that has completed its lifespan. Now, implementation framework की अगर बात करें, the project would be implemented in the respective state nodal agencies that involve in promoting wind energy to central nodal appointment by the central government. Within 1 month, जो announcement की जाएगी in the policies, that will be constituting the monitoring and advisory committee that will be chaired by the joint secretary of the MNR. So this is very important that the policy that is being implemented should be monitored well. The committee will include the members from the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agencies and the state and the central nodal agencies and the independent wind energy expert and the audit people. Incentives की अगर बात करें, IREDA will provide an additional incentive or interest rate at the rebate of 0.25% over the year, and interest rate available to the new wind projects for repowering project. Currently, the available interest rate vary across different grades that lie from range from 8.5 to 9.5. Central and state government may also consider the additional financial incentive support system for this project system. Environmental release of genetically injured mustard, GM mustard की बात की गई. I have discussed this news in the daily news and editorial analysis. If you have not watched it, do check it out. You will find the detailed analysis of this. Now, the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, that is GEAC, under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, has recommended environment release of certain genetically engineering mustard. This include productions and testing of the mustard hybrid variety, that is DHM11, prior for the commercial use. Now, the testing will be done as per the existing guideline, right, and even by the Indian Council for Agricultural Research with the existing rules and regulations. Now, what exactly is the hybrid mustard? अगर बात करें hybridization की, it involve a process of two genetically dissimilar plant variety जो कि cross verification when a crossing is being done and after which a new species is emerged. The first generation offspring, such as cross strain, that is with the higher yield variety, what either parents can involve individually basis. Such hybridization isn't easy in mustard, and in flower have the both, because mustard has both male and female, right? It's had both female, that is called pistil, and stamen, that is in male. If you have you've studied plant morphology, you must be aware of the fact. I'm not getting into deep down about the botany part, but अगर female में जो flowering की reproductive organs की अगर बात करें या फिर system की बात करें, pistil is the main part, and for male the main part is stamen, right? So it has both in the mustard, which create a problem for the genetical modification part. So central it basically called for a self pollination. So basically expert ने क्या किया, they have come up with the reductions process, and in the F1 generation they have inducted the changes. Now, about the GAC recommendations, they have also recommended raising the parental areas of the genetically injured mustard carrying certain genes in order to develop a new parental line. And these clearances have been subject to other conditions as well. For instances, commercial use of DMH11 shall be subject to the approval by the Seeds Act of 1966. The environmental approval should be valid for 4 years, after which it may be renewed for 2 years in the time based on the compliances report. Exempting from the environment impact assessment, that is from the EIA. It's a small news, that is a draft notification regarding the exemptions project for the environment was released by the government. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change had released a draft notification with regards to the notification. The ministry has pumped storage plant and considered the same for the categories despite the environmental impact for the lower categories. Pumped storage plant have ability to use the same water multiple times for generating electricity, unlike hydropower projects. Right? The draft amendment seeks to allow certain eligible pumped storage plants to receive environmental clearances without requiring an environmental impact assessment. Now, eligible pumped storage projects include forest or the wildlife clearances that is not required. No new reservoir is created, and existing reservoir is not expanded from the structurally modified. Moving to the other news, that is amendment to IT Rule 2021. We'll see the detail and the nuances of this particular rule. This is very important for the mains examination and also for the prelims examination. The Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology has notified the amendment to the Information Technology Intermediary Guideline and Digital Media Ethics Code 2021. The rule specified due diligence requirement for the intermediaries to claim exemptions from the liabilities of the third party content, right? And talking about details, the intermediaries and the entities at the store or the transit data on the behalf of the other person. This includes social media sites, e-commerce companies, internet service providers, that is also known as ISPs. Now, what are the proposals in the amendment part that the government has introduced? So there's obligations of intermediaries. So under the rule, it required the intermediaries to publish the regulations, privacy policies, user agreement for access of the services. The amendment adds these details should be made available in English and any language is specified in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. इसमें सारे language के descriptions और detail दी गई हैं. Now the rule specifies restrictions on 2 types of content that users can create. The rules require intermediaries to form the user base about the restrictions, and amendment also add intermediaries. This must be having the compliances part and the regulations, privacy policies, and the agreement that make reasonable effort to cause user not to create and share the prohibited content that is actually under the guideline by the Government of India. Appeal mechanism against the decision of the grievance officers. So there's a concept that will there for the grievance officers to give an earliest resolutions to the grievances. The 2021 rules require the intermediaries to designate the grievance officers to address the compliance regarding the violations of the rule. The amendment provides mechanism for the appeal against the decision of the grievance officer. The central government will establish one or more grievance appellate committee to hear the appeals against the decision of the grievance officers. The committee will consist of the chairperson and two other members appointed by the central government through a notifications. So these are again the member and the composition part. The committee will be disposing of all the appeals within 30 days on the priority basis. Now, the expeditious removal of the prohibited content is something that is a requirement for the guideline and the amendment. The rules require the intermediaries to acknowledge the complaints regarding violations of the rule within 24 hours and dispose of the complaint within 15 days. The amendment adds that the complaint regarding the removal of the specific prohibited content should be addressed within 72 hours. So this is like the immediate effect that the government has come up with the rules and regulations, and other rules include that the disposal of should take place within 15 days. Now, this was all about for the MPR. We have a lot more other initiatives for you like daily news and editorial analysis, IS Guest in Magazine, FCA, PIB, MPR, and Gist of Yojana and Kurukshetra. All this initiative will help you to sail through the journey of civil services. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.